All right, welcome back. We have another interview with another coach here, Adam Ismail. How you doing, Adam?
I'm good, buddy. How are you?
All right, man. So I always start off these by basically doing, how did you get into riding motorcycles?
So I joined the Marine Corps in 2015, and I got done with training, came back home, and one of my buddies had had a CBR 600 or something. I was like, man, that's pretty neat. I had no hobbies, no nothing, and I figured I just randomly just called the bank, got a loan, went looking for bikes, saw one down the street, called him. He came down, test rode it, bought it on the spot. No, I didn't know a single thing about riding. Didn't know nothing about. I got the helmet from him, and it was some crappy secondhand helmet, and that's where it all started.
Nice. So what? How long did you ride on the street until you started to ride on the track? And what brought on riding at the track? Like what got you into that?
So I met my buddy Dylan Yelton through street riding. We showed up at the lot one day, and hung out, and he popped a big wheelie down I-75 for probably a mile, and I was like, man, that's really cool. Then he started going to the track, and I was like, oh, I think that's kind of sweet. And obviously following him, I tried to go quicker on the street, crash on the street, crash on the street, and I was like, man, this is not the place to be. So then I went to my first track day with him at NCM, and it was so much fun. And the next day, I rode on the street, and I was like, this is boring. There's like you can't do what you do on the track on the street. And I was like, it's just way safer. So that's
NCM, what year was that?
I think that was in 2019. I think
Was
so.
that uh
I rode the street for like 3 years. I think.
yeah. And what who was the organization that you rode with down there?
So that my first track day was with track day winner,
Yep.
and they were I really liked them. They were very beginner friendly. And then I did I did two track days with them before they closed. I did one with Midwest, and Midwest was like they cut the novice guys loose after like the first session.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
was like I was like, wow, this is like my second time. I don't know about that.
Yeah, and NCM's like that's a pretty technical track to learn too. So
Yeah, that is not the place to be cutting people loose.
so would
Not
you
with 1A and all that.
oh
Nope.
yeah. What'd you think about your first track day? Like how was it? What were your expectations going into it? Like and what were, how'd you feel after that? Like what was your mindset after the day or during the day, I guess?
So I had went through two street bikes to my third one up until that point, and it was a 2012 Gixxer 1000. So my first track, there we go, phone fell.
That's all right.
There we go. So my first track day was on a Gixxer 1000. Not the best bike to take the track on street tires, and just went out, and I didn't know what to expect. I really didn't know how to ride aggressively or how to, body position, all this stuff. So I asked millions of questions. What's this? How do I do that? Are my foot pegs in the right spot? What am I doing here? What are you doing here? It was just so overwhelming, but it was so cool because we get to do what the bikes were made to do. So at the end of the day, I was like, man, it wasn't enough, but I knew it was like a good start,
Yeah.
and I didn't crash, so that was a good start.
So you just continue to do track days. How many like did you so when did you start coaching with Fasttrax? Let's ask you that.
So I started. I think this was my second year coaching with Fasttrax.
Okay.
I My first year of racing, I started racing full time, like not no or track riding. Sorry, I started track riding specifically, and then going into racing at the same time. In 21, I think. Got rid of my street bike and everything, and I raced Craig. I didn't know Craig at the time.
Chronic. Yeah, yeah.
Yep. And so I raced against him, and we had this crazy good race. Me, him, and some kid on a 400. We just went back and forth, passing every lap. And I was like, man, that was a lot of fun. I met him. That's where we became friends. And then over time, I just kept wanting to do more and more and more, get more track time and learn and figure stuff out. So then he's like, why don't you come up and try and coach? And I was like, what is that? Like, I've always wanted to try that. And because I think at this point, I think I've been track riding for about 5 years and racing for about 5 years. So I think I know enough to get someone off the ground. I think not to get someone podiums or whatever, obviously, but I
Right.
think I know how to get someone off the ground at the track so they know what they're doing comfortably.
Right.
So I think, yeah, so that was 2 years ago. And I talked to Mike Malcard and he was like, yeah, man, come on up. And I was like, let me coach novice. I was like, I want to coach novice. He's like, no, 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 not your first time. I was like, okay, fine. So I went to intermediate and then that's where I'll start. And I met you and I met all the gang from that. And that's what brought us here.
So what was your main reason for you kind of went into it, but a little bit more in depth of like why what was the main reasoning behind you wanting to coach?
So originally it was selfish reasons, right? I wanted free track time. I wanted to go out there and just spin laps, figure myself out, figure my bike out at a track that we do race at. And I thought that was the way to do it. So showed up, started coaching, right? Intermediate, go out there and do my own thing, and then all of a sudden there's somebody that's not doing something that's super right, right? So after that session, I go find them. Hey, you're kind of you're doing something a little funky here in this turn or that turn, or let's try doing this, or just follow me for a lap, right? Because I started racing, and that's what I want to do is race. I love racing, but then I realized that helping people is super super rewarding and just
Yeah.
it's awesome
Yeah.
when you get on the right wavelength with a student and novice, intermediate, or whatever, and you just figure out how to communicate properly with them, and they start to pick it up at whatever pace they can pick it up at, and things start clicking and clicking and clicking, and then they just come off the track, and we're like, dude, we were moving a little bit there, and
Yeah.
and they're just like, this is awesome.
Yep.
So that's what I found doing this, and I would like to do that more at every other track for anybody that shows up because it's a lot of fun once you can get the hang of it.
For sure. For sure. So over the time coaching with Fasttrax and kind of doing your thing there, what would you say is one of the more memorable um, like things that stick out in your mind from coaching? Like, may it be a certain person or whatever it is. What is like a key thing that you always remember? One of those things that stick out to you.
So last year, we were doing novice, and this kid and his dad were there, and the kid's on a ninja or on a he was on an R3. First track day ever. He's never been on a track. He had brand new leathers, brand new everything, and he just kept falling out of the group, falling out of the group, falling out of the group, and I think I was floating. So I was like, I'll just pick him up the whole time. So I was like, dude, just stick with me, and I'll just coach you the whole day. I'll just be me and you. He's like, okay, cool. And so I talked to him about the whole body position, gas, brakes, what to do, tip in here, all this stuff. I just said plain and simple, just easy things to do. Um, and he had no emotion the whole time, right? He just was looking at me the whole time, talking. He's like, okay, yeah, and he's like, man, it's kind of hard to get my head wrapped around. I was like, it's okay, it's okay. By the end of the day, I realized before we cut them loose, like let them do whatever they want. It's like the last session, and I'm laying down a pace, right? And I look back, and he's right there. He's right there. So I turn back ahead, go a couple turns later, look back, he's right there. I'm like, okay, cool. Next lap, go a little bit quicker. I look back, he's right there. The whole time he just kept. I just gave it a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more. And he took it the whole time. And we came off track. I'm like, dude, we were going kind of quick there. This is the first time ever. And I don't have a lap timer, but like my butt dyno. I mean, we weren't doing 30s, right? But we weren't cresting 20s, but we were in between. We had to be between a 130 and a 120 in
Yeah.
my mind. And I'm like, dude, that is incredible. And he was like, that is really fun, man. He's like, he's like, that was a blast. And then I just followed him, and sure enough, he was tipping in right where I was doing it, braking right where I was doing it. He was doing the whole like it's like I exaggerate popping up for brake markers and novice, like just popping up, and he's doing that. He's popping up exactly where I do it, tip it in, hits the apex, gasses out, hits the apex, and I'm like, man, that was to this day that was like the greatest thing I think I've ever seen.
Yeah, it makes and obviously he had a really good time, and that's what stuff, those things that make rewarding to you are very rewarding to the customer as well, and then they want to come back, right? Because they had a really good experience. Um, so from that, what do you think? I mean, you've obviously rode with different organizations and stuff. You've only coached with Fasttrax, but you've rode with several different organizations, obviously, even before you don't want to practice say before a race or just different track or whatever. What do you think that sets Fasttrax apart from? I mean, we don't have to name other organizations, but just what do you think that sets us apart from other orgs?
So I think what the structure that we have for novice students is really good. Um, there's people that have been in our novice group since the beginning of this year that have definitely seen a lot of progressions because they show up and they they follow they moved up the groups to like the one group right or like the first spot, and it's like and it's so supportive the way we have it structured, the way Mike runs it, um, and the classroom setting I think is very friendly. It's a very helpful environment. Like I think all of the coaches, including you and everybody else, they they don't just we I don't think anybody has shown up just to be like, oh, I just ride the track. It's just a track day, just follow me, whatever. Massive, long, lanky groups where the last guy is like, I don't know where I'm at. I'm just riding a track and I don't know what I'm doing. I haven't really seen that. And from probably, I think I've rode with probably 5 orgs across Mid Ohio, Pittsburgh, NCM, Nelson's, and all that stuff. Um, I think we do a pretty good job of not only keeping groups together so people don't feel left out. We do a good job of communicating after each session and then being there for the students once they jump into intermediate or jump into advanced. Like there's advanced guys that can come to you and talk to you. Hey man, follow me for give me a tow or something like that. I think that's what definitely sets us apart is caring for the students from the beginning, to this day.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good point. Like a lot of times, if you make that real like good connection with somebody that started in novice, let's say, um, a lot of times they'll come up to you and be like, the next year, say they're an intermediate, and they're like, "Hey, what are you running in today? Are you an intermediate? Because I could use some help."
Yep.
They always want to come back to you because they feel comfortable, and I think that's a pretty cool thing to have. Like, they form some kind of bond with you over the time, that they've got taught from you or whatever. So yeah, I agree with that. That's it's pretty good part of our organization is real friendliness,
Yep.
approachable, and
Mm-hmm.
and they trust us if we go, hey, I'm in novice today, but hey, Adam, take you around. He's good. He'll show you good lines. He'll show you everything you need to know. And then they have that trust that like, yeah, worked with him and he's okay with me going with him. We're all good, but like when somebody kind of latches on or forms that bond with somebody, sometimes it's hard for them to want to go and ride with another coach or whatever. But I think we do a really good job of everybody helping, and we just do. That's my biggest thing. I think we're very good, real friendly, approachable, and we all have a pretty good knowledge. So, um, what do you think is like one of the hardest things for novice to overcome? Like that one thing to get them from novice to intermediate.
It's probably it's something that I do to this day, even at the pace that we run, is making an input in the motorcycle. A lot of times, like even I think I started fixing this last year, the year, maybe the year before that, is the concept of, well, one butt cheek off, head off center, and then just go into the corner. Well, that's not necessarily how it works. You have to make a bar input and do all that. And that's something I never really, no one ever told me that really, right? So I didn't think about it. And then, talking to Dylan and other people, I'm like, mid corner, I'll be like not making it. Just the bike will just stop turning and just going on a weird shift. I'm like, why is it doing that? So next lap, I make a conscientious effort to push the bar, and then it continues. So I'm like, oh, that's what it is.
Yeah.
So I think I see a lot of people just not thinking about that part of the the checklist of things to do to get into a corner or so on and so forth. Because especially at Nelson Ledges, there's like a million different ways to get through that track.
Right.
Uh, and a lot of people do like late apexes and stuff like that. I don't do that. I just tip right in, early. That's how I do it. I just tip in early, get to the apex and get out. But a lot of the novice guys do that where they just 90-degree the corner. And I'm like, man, the faster you go, the harder it's going to be to, like, especially turn one. All the time I see it in turn one. They're just going straight, 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 straight. And I'm like, oh my God, the turn's coming. And then then they're about like mid track or 3/4 track on the outside. I'm like, man, if you're going like 10 miles an hour faster in that corner, you're not making that.
Right.
You know, especially at Nelson's, you want to try and get. That's why I tip in early. Is if I'm down low or if I'm on the inside, I got the whole track to my outside in
Yeah.
case I need it. Especially the kink. A lot of people run off in the kink because they stay mid track and go right off into the grass. It's just that it's making that bar input to get to the apex and then get out of the corner. I see a lot. That's always what I tell novice people what they need to try and work on.
Right on. What about from like the same thing, but like that intermediate to advance?
So intermediate is probably the same thing I struggle with as well at Nelson's, is just the corner speed. I mean, Nelson's is I was talking to someone, Eric Smith, and I've watched him race at Nelson's for years, and he's wicked fast. And I always ask him little things, and he told me one day, he's like, Nelson's like one of the fastest tracks in the United States. And I was like, what?
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, it's only minute something lap times, and your average mile an hour is like ridiculously high. And I was like,
Yeah.
holy cow,
Actually,
I never
I
never
looked
thought of that.
I looked it up a couple days ago because I was told that, and I'm like, I'm curious if that's like actually true, and it is, besides like Daytona, just because the oval, it's just, I
Yeah.
mean, that's a whole different thing. And then there's one other track that's similar. I can't remember the name off the top of my head. So like excluding those two, then Nelson's is the fastest track. I mean, it used to be for the longest time, but it's like probably third on the list now. But for like a small track in Northeast Ohio, that's crazy to think that it is
Yeah.
one of the top three fastest tracks in the United States. It's pretty
Yeah,
insane.
it's crazy, and I don't think I've mastered Nelson's at all by any means. You know, it's a difficult track, especially if you struggle with corner speed.
Right.
Like I think I would love to see your onboard footage of like looking at the dash with mile per hour, see what you're carrying through the corners. But I
Oh,
have footage of my
I can give
R1.
you my data off my aim if you want it.
Yeah, I want to. Yeah, I want to see that because like the mid. I mean, I think I was doing almost. I think I was doing 99 miles an hour in turn one. I'm like, and that's crazy to think about. It doesn't feel like
I do a
that.
little bit faster than that actually.
Yeah, you see what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
that's crazy to think about that we're doing like 100 miles an hour in a turn. And you pay, where do you want to be? You want to be on the pavement? You want to be off the pavement or on the patch? On the patch? Like
Yep.
where do you want to be? That's crazy to think about.
Yeah, I mean, I checked my data from like my V4 to my 660. I just got that thing, the V4 this year, and getting used to it and stuff. And yeah, I'm about a second faster on than my 660, which is not that much considering how much more power it makes. But I had two 10, 50 laps, one on the V4 and one on the 660. And I just was curious, and like 6, 7 mile an hour faster mid corner on the 660. I mean, and that's where all the time difference is, you know. I
That's
mean,
it.
yeah,
Yeah, that's it.
everything else on the Ducati is just it's faster top speed, you know what I mean? But
Hmm.
it's crazy. It's pretty wild to see that. Um,
And that's the environment that we're going to put novice people in. So I don't ever tell them that, but I'm like, this is one of, in my mind, I'm like, this is a hard track just because of how fast it can be.
so going with that, the hard track thing, what do you across, you know, I mean, across all novice, intermediate, advanced, whatever, what turn on the track or what part on the track do you see that, you know, is the average most people struggle with?
Jeez. I don't know. I do hear a lot about just the kink. Obviously, I hear a lot of complaining about the kinks just because of what it is.
Yeah,
But I probably 12 and 13.
really.
I think that's, yeah. I because it's just a lot of the novice people that when I coach novice or even intermediate, the same thing. I don't hang out in advance a lot, so I don't get to talk to those guys a whole lot. That's usually where you're at. So, but I think in especially intermediate, it's that 12. It's just a transition from 12 to 13 because they ask like where do I want to be in 12, out of 12, into the beginning of 13, because I think I think exiting 13 is pretty much universally the same because you just want to cruise out to the outside. But I think that's what I hear the most is the in between 12 and 13, getting
Interesting.
into 13.
I see just me and across all, I feel like 4 is universally hated, or
Yep.
you know what I mean? It's like it's a harder corner for people to master, or not so much master, but to be comfortable in.
Hmm.
And like I'm sure that you see it like when you race there too. It's like people that don't ride the track as much, they just go there and they do the practice on Friday and then they race the weir around. Like you can kind of tell since you ride the track a lot more, like, and you're more comfortable with everything, where some of the fat, you know, when you're riding against, you know, guys that are racing and stuff, where they're weaker at than you
Hmm.
just because you ride the track a lot. And that's one
Yep.
of the areas I see that in. Um, and, you know, sometimes the carousel, but more so 4, I think, than anything for me
Hmm.
at least. Is where I see that. But I've had other people say that too. Other coaches say like 12 and 13 is kind of the one where they see, which I, I mean, I've had that, but I guess I've just seen more people have issues or need more help in 4, you know, from me, like my experience with people. But
I think a slower paced person is definitely struggling in 4 just because of it's bumpy and where do they need to be, and I don't, that's my least favorite turn on the whole track is
yeah,
turn 4.
see,
I lose so much time in 4, and I'll be racing somebody and I'm babying it into 4, and then they're whacking the throttle out and I'm like, dude, I'm not even turned yet, I'm trying to get out of 4. That's where I lose all my times in 4, and probably like the beginning of the carousel.
yeah.
That's where I struggle to this day. 2 years of coaching, I still don't know what I'm doing in turn 4, especially racing.
We'll
I'm
have to
just,
fix that then.
dude. When we're racing, I just wait till after turn 4. That's just a gray zone to me.
uh, uh, so I guess along the same lines, where do you see most people crash at the track then at Nelson?
Man, I've seen a lot of people run off the track in not the kink, but like before the kink, kind of like before the kink, and then obviously after the kink. I
Yeah,
see a
yeah.
lot of people go down in the kink, and it's
It's
crazy.
the worst spot to go to.
It's the worst spot to go. It's so bad. Um, I see a lot of people that, and then I think if you like if you actually tallied it up, probably 13, like 13. A lot of people went down this year at 13, just from the first lap cold tires
Yeah.
and just tucking it because
Getting
that
on
is
the
definitely
gas
one of
too
those
quick,
corners.
coming out.
Exactly, that's
Yep.
definitely one of those corners where you know I always we do the big sweeping lines, like go out wide and then late apex and drive out. But a lot of people probably just push it down and just tuck that front really easily.
Yeah. I think a lot of novices for sure that's always there. And it's usually on the
Always.
gas coming out. They're like, oh, okay,
Yep.
whack it open, slide and high side or do something crazy.
Yep.
Um, somebody was asking, if we learn from each other, coaches, and you know, know I do. You can't stop learning, I guess. But where do you sit on that? Have you learned quite a bit from other coaches there at Fast Track?
Yeah. So actually, I ask every single person what they're doing in turn four, right? Like what's your line? What are you doing? Because I can't ever grasp what the right thing is or how much more corner speed I can carry. Like I just is a struggle bus through turn four. So I actually asked you what you were doing through turn four, and I did that. I did exactly what you were saying in the race at the beginning of the season where I won in novice. Um, you said you just stand out wide, hit the middle of patch, and let off the brakes right there. So you said you brake, hit that beginning of that patch in the middle, and then let off the brake. I was like, all right. And I'm trying. It never occurred to me that you're doing that on the 660. I'm on 1,000, but thank God it worked out.
Yeah,
So I did that, and I got down to the inside, and I was like, oh my gosh, it worked. Like it felt. I didn't lose time there. I definitely didn't lose time against anybody in the race there.
yeah.
And
You
I was like,
feel a little bit
okay,
more planted getting down in there too, right?
yeah, exactly. So I said then I was like, that's what I'm doing. I'm doing that every single lap, and then I'll change everything else in any other corner or push brake markers or whatever in every other corner. But I'm just going to do exactly that in turn four for the whole race just to get me through,
Yeah.
and it worked. So that's like now that's what I do in turn four.
Yep. And it's I mean it's like it's nice too because you have a very good reference with those patches. It's like connecting the
Yep.
dots and getting in there, so the visually it's easy to follow that. But yeah, that's cool, man. Um,
Yep.
uh, oh, it's a question somebody else asked. Well, I'll ask two of them that we had some people comment on. Is first one, which you kind of said something about it earlier about being on the 1,000 on your first track day, but if someone is, they rode the street and whatever, and they decided, you know what, I want to go learn and ride the track, and so they rode the track and did their thing, and they're like, I want to stay with this and learn and kind of build the skill level up. What would you say is the perfect street bike or perfect bike to start doing track days on at first?
You probably hear everyone say the SV650,
Yeah.
and I mean you can't go wrong with it, right? But I don't want to say that because I'm sure everyone's gonna be tired of hearing that. I don't want to say 1,000 because that's definitely not right. But maybe like an MT09 or something, like something in between a 600 and like in 1,000. That's not super aggressive with like not like a sport bike. You know what I mean? Like a naked
Yeah.
something, like a naked something.
So why?
And
What's the reasoning behind it?
because they're more comfortable. I rode MT09s, the Z800, and just other stand-up bikes like the 2Ono. I've seen 2Onos and stuff like that, and having the ergonomics of those make it because you're up so high, you're up in the air so high, and you're not going down the freeway at 80 miles an hour for an hour. You're tucking and pop up, brake, tip in, so you're not really getting blasted by the wind with no fairings, but you have the just agility of a tall bike with probably really good torque and decent enough, good enough horsepower. Right, you're not starved for power with with the SV650, and you're not having to wring its neck like an R6. That's what I'm saying. Like the R6 is the worst beginner bike in my opinion. That's the worst one
Yeah.
because I raced one last year and I struggled so much with it. And then obviously with SV650 you have no power. So I think like a good 3-cylinder or naked bike where you have torque. A good beginner bike.
Right on. And so, excluding like you know your normal things you'd bring and gear and helmet, gloves, etc. Blah blah blah. What is one of the things um, that a lot of people don't think about or wouldn't particularly think about that you feel is like a great thing to have at a track day with you? Like one of those, I don't know, you call it like a secret or whatever you want, but like one of those things, like it just makes your life so much easier when you're doing track days.
Either it's two. I'd say it's probably two things. One, the that thing from Amazon with the gas jug that you attach the top of the gas jug and it makes it like it's got the electric little
Yeah.
pump on it.
Yeah,
That's a game changer
it
because
is.
you're not. It's when I started doing track days and all that stuff, you don't think about all the off track stuff. You always think about on track, right? So when I'm gonna go to the track, okay, helmet, boots, gloves, all that stuff, right? But off the track is just as important as on the track, right? So that's what I've spent like all this last year doing is getting a nice comfy chair to sit in and a fan. The fan I think is the most important thing that I don't see anybody bring in to the track is a big old fan,
Yeah.
not only to cool yourself off, but to cool your bike off too. Like, I just see people bike kickstand and sit there. And I'm like, man, it's 100 degrees out here. And drinking water is one thing, but you got to cool yourself down at the same time. So I think a fan and definitely that cool little pump thing. I just don't see it a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. I have one of those pump things. I like the first one I bought crapped out on me like midway through the year. And then I was like, this thing's junk. And I ended up buying another one this year. Yeah. They're great. Not having to lift a big jug up, spilling fuel, etc. They're really nice to
Yeah,
have.
right. And right after you get, or it's always right after, or right before, the session. So you're either doing it right after, you're all sweaty, tired, like
Yep.
you need to be sitting down, getting water. No, you just unzip, put that thing in there, or you zip up, put that thing in there, click it on, and you're good to go.
Heck yeah. Um, and so you were talking about off track stuff. What is what are the one of the things that you like about like the off track? So the day's over, whatever. You know, what is one of the things that you really like about just the paddock and you stay there or do you? I can't remember if you stay or you go. I think you go, don't you?
I usually, if Craig doesn't let me borrow his couch, I usually stay. But Craig's been nice enough to let me sleep at his house in the nice AC and all that stuff.
Do
So
you
that's
prefer being at the track or not?
Man, I liked sleeping at the track. My first 2 years, I never did a track day at Nelson's. I only raced there. And the first year, I slept in the back of my truck, in the bed of my truck. And then we had, because we raced at Nelson's twice. Um, the later one is always freezing cold at night. It's
Yeah.
always like below 50, and it's just so cold. So I tried to sleep in the bed of my truck. It was so cold. I got back in my truck and just slept in the passenger seat, turned the heat on. And then the next year, it was so cold that Mark Blitnikoff let me sleep in the back of his trailer.
Yeah.
I had all my clothes on, everything, and I was freezing, still freezing cold. And then I'm sitting there shivering. And I'm like, how are we going to race tomorrow?
Yeah.
I, I don't know why they wait so late in the year to go there again.
Yeah, so I mean,
But
yeah, I think the coldest I've like raced in. I remember doing the 2 hour up there with lean, and it was like the 2 hours first. It was like 45 degrees, man. I was
oh
like,
my,
dude, it was
no way,
so. I
dude,
couldn't believe how
no
much.
way.
I mean, Nelson has a lot of grip, and that showed me because I was on the little Duke 390, but like I had. Yeah, normally you just wear your like spandex undersuit or whatever. I had that, and then like armor or Under Armour type like the more winter layer, and like it was so tight, dude. But oh man, all that wind and stuff, the visor fogging up. I was like, this is horrible. Like 45 degrees, screw
Dude,
that,
you'd see me with a sweatshirt over my leathers and
dude.
a
That would
scarf.
have been probably nice. Uh,
That's crazy.
it was nuts. But after a while, working in, riding and stuff, you get a little bit warm. But as soon as you get off track and all that sweat starts to evaporate, and you're like, oh,
Jeez, holy cow. Yeah, I like staying at the track just because you don't got to go anywhere and you can sit and you know how it is. you can just go down the lanes and talk to, a
Yeah,
hundred
dude.
people
Yeah,
for an hour a piece.
the
So,
camaraderie, everybody. It's just like so much fun to be able to just have those little chats and stuff. Like I love it. If that wasn't part of it, like I would miss it dearly to not like just be in the paddock and hanging out. Like it's one of my favorite things. So
oh yeah, yeah. It's really cool when you can just the whole I'll be right back. You're hanging out with you're in your pit. Like I'll be right back, and then you're gone for an hour and a half because
yeah,
you went over there and talked to him, talked to him, talked to him, talked to him, work your way back. Like it's so easy to do that.
yeah,
And
for sure.
that's what's cool about our organizations. Now I'm my Facebook friends group is huge now because of how many people I've met, just people who ride
Yeah, for sure.
from our organization.
Yeah, man, I agree with that. It's yeah, and they're good. It's such good people. They'll help you out with anything. I've never met like a better group of people, outside of like because I've been into cars and done all stuff with that and whatever, but like motorcycle track group, like the community there, was talking to Mark Bolitnikoff. He's like he would leave his wallet on the table because like he knows no one's going to take it, just straight
Yeah.
out in the
Yep.
open because people are just such good people.
Yep. Yeah. And then it's even better. Like so, I'm when I race Craig, the second race of the day, my foot peg fell off. So I was riding with one foot peg on my SV650, and I was using Chinesium rear sets because I was super cheap. And coming around the carousel, all of a sudden my foot just like went all the way off and like dang near touchdown. I was like, oh my god! So I raced. I did one whole lap without a foot peg, and came back in, and I was like, man, who has an SV that I can try and talk to? And sure enough, it was Craig. So I walked up to Craig, and he's like, yeah, I have the same thing. So he let me borrow a peg, and I finished the race, and then I beat him. And
Yeah.
then he was really mad that he let me borrow that foot peg.
Yeah,
So
I forget who I was talking about that. Like, that's the other thing is, like, even though you're like, even racing wise, when you're competing, like, I've given advice to people that I race against. Like, hey, I saw you were
mhm.
doing this and this. You could improve by taking this line or doing this. And then, the next race I have with them, they beat me. But like, it's just everybody wants to help everybody, even if it's like a detriment to your, your competition wise.
Oh
People
yeah, yep,
still are fine with helping each other, and that's the best thing about it. There's no like ill will about anything out there.
yep. My buddy Paul Wilkie, we raced a couple times together every year, and he was like, he came up to me. He is such a nice person, and he was asking me like, man, what are you doing through the kink? And I'm like I said, I just tip in super early, put my knee over the grass because if I hit that bump and something happens, I have the whole track. He's like, you know what, I'm gonna try that. Sure enough, he did that. So then he was passing me, and I passed it back into 12. So then the race got real interesting. But I'd helped him a lot, and that was really cool to see. Now me and him are really good friends.
Nice. Well, man, I get that's pretty much all the questions I have. Is there anything you want to like comment on, or any advice you want to give, or anything like that that you could think of before we sign off on this?
Um, I think some advice I could give would be don't be afraid to ask questions because that's definitely what I was afraid of when I started.
Same here,
Was
man.
it was asking it was like when is too many questions? Well, there really isn't,
Nope.
right? It becomes too many questions when the next session is about to start and we got to get back out there, but then there's plenty more time after that. So I feel like some people are just afraid to ask for help. you know maybe I'm not maybe I'm not the best at explaining something a particular way to a certain person who learns in a different way. But that's what's really cool about us is there are so many good riders at all different levels from all different walks of life that can talk to you in whatever way you need to get you to where you want to be or where you feel safe on the track and apply the skills that you learn either at the next track day or the next race or even at the street. And that's my biggest thing is probably uh, just come to the track so we can teach you what you need to do so you can be safer on the street. Because that's where I started, and I've suffered so many crashes on the street that could have easily been avoided if I just did a couple track days. So that's my thing is just come and ask questions, and we'll be there for you.
Yeah, I think that's a great thing to end on because, like you, I was kind of the same way when I started. It's like I think there's a couple different types, and one is the people that are kind of scared to ask questions, or maybe just whatever it may be, they think that the question's stupid or something like that, and there are no stupid questions, obviously. And then there are people that also just need a little bit more humbling. They think they know the answers when they
Yep.
really don't. So there's the two different types. But yeah, asking questions and getting that information, that's, I mean, really the only way you're going to improve, because we ride this track nonstop all the time. And, like you said, if there's something that maybe you can't explain, maybe Craig or Chris or whoever, someone is going to be able to like get through to somebody. So I think
Exactly.
that's a great point to make there. So, but yeah, man, I appreciate you taking the time out to sit down and have this interview, and said that the whole thing behind this is just kind of be able to let people kind of into your background and what you do and what our organization's about. And I think everybody has a little bit different background and a relatability for everybody. There's something that everybody can relate to, but something to kind of these videos, I want to kind of be able to separate us from some other organizations and get people to kind of know us a little bit better, even if they've ridden with
Yep.
us before, or if they haven't, they can at least see, the type of people they're going to be dealing with, and, that we care and love about the sport,
Yep.
and, how much we love to help people and just get them to where they want to be. And, but yeah, again, I really appreciate you taking time out to do this. And, I don't know when this will go up, but it'll be a couple weeks. Doing about every 2 weeks, gonna put them up. But appreciate it. And anything else before we go?
No, I'm all good, man. I appreciate you giving the time to do this, because I think it's really cool that we get these little profile videos and stuff like that, because it's really cool, for everyone, like what you said, if someone coming in to see these and know who's going to be there and who to talk to kind of beforehand, makes your first track day jitters, a lot easier to deal with.
I agree, man. Well, I think we'll wrap up there. Appreciate it, and we'll look forward to talking to you again at some point. And yeah, we'll sign off here, man. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, man. See ya.
Bye.